So, I've been thinking a lot about burnout. A state of physical, mental, or emotional exhaustion. We hear this word thrown around a lot. It can be used to describe someone who's just a bit tired and ready for the weekend, but it can also be used to describe someone who has hit rock bottom and needs to take a long time off work to recover. In reality, burnout is the latter. It is serious and it needs preventing, as it is much easier to help someone avoid burnout than it is to treat someone who has reached burnout. But let me talk directly to you for a second. If you clicked on this, maybe you're on your way to burnout or have experienced it before. Work can be extremely stressful. We can have difficult clients, controlling supervisors, unfair deadlines, and so much more. If this is you and you are reaching breaking point, then please do one thing. Just stop for a second. Just force yourself to do nothing for a moment. Press the pause button. Take a few breaths to center yourself and bring yourself fully into the present moment. Do it right now. Observe what is going on with your body. What physical sensations are you aware of? Your touch, sight, hearing, taste, smell? What about your emotions? How are you feeling right now? And your mind? What are you thinking about? What's constantly popping up at the front of your mind? Proceed with what you are doing, but now more aware of yourself and how you are right now. This is a technique I discovered during counselling, and it can be used in a variety of ways, such as anger management, but for now, I encourage you to use it as a tool when you reach points of overwhelm. However, this is not how you avoid burnout. It is just a coping mechanism to help you get on with the day. However, I want to apply this to your situation a bit more broadly and see if it can help you. Hi there, my name is James. You're so welcome if you are new. Now let me tell you a lockdown story. So in the UK we had this guy called Boris who, well, I'm not going to get into it, but anyway, we just hit 2021, January 2021, and I was thinking to myself, man, 2020 was rubbish. Surely 2021 cannot be worse. And then it got worse.
But we now have a new variant. In England, we must therefore go into a national lockdown which is tough enough to contain this variant.
I hit my lowest point over the entire pandemic at this point. And on reflection, I did have a lot to be grateful for, but nevertheless, I was not in a good place. After some moping, I stumbled upon a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Now up to this point, I'd probably read about one book per year. It just wasn't my thing. However, once I downloaded this book as an audiobook and listened to it, it kind of changed my life. It's all about how we can stay physically, spiritually and emotionally healthy in the chaos of the modern world. The author is a guy called John Mark Comer, and my friends know I'm a little bit obsessed by him. But he's got a really interesting story. So he was a pastor and he was pretty good at it. And he was lucky enough to lead a church that grew massively through his 20s, and they planted loads and loads of different church plants all over Portland, Oregon. He was, you could say, very ambitious. But he took on too much. He ended up grinding himself down to the bone, and he burnt out big time. He had to take months off to recover, go through counselling, rebuild his relationship with his wife, his kids, and God. And he learned a lot from all of this. You might be thinking, James, who are you to tell me anything about burnout? You know, I've been working for longer than you've been alive. And you probably have a point. But I know and have read countless stories who are really passionate about what they do, and they overwork themselves, grind themselves down to the bone, and burn out. So when I finished listening to this book, I took action. John Mark boils down the solution to burnout to the 4 S's. The first of which is silence and solitude, the second is Sabbath, the third is simplicity, and the fourth is slowing. Now, I don't have enough time here to fully unpack each point. I think that will likely come later in another video. But trust me, if you want to avoid burnout, do read this book. Go and buy it now, or maybe download it as an audiobook and listen to it in the car, on your commute, or on a run, or whatever you do. But for now, let me just give you one tip from each. Silence and solitude. So there is a lot of power in just sitting down and doing nothing. I used to do this all the time on my commute in the morning, where I would just sit there in silence whilst driving along and just use it to organise my thoughts. And there are a lot of health benefits to this, so if you haven't ever tried this before and you're not really comfortable with it, just give it a go and see what happens. The next is Sabbath, and I have actually made a full video about this, so if you want to watch it, it'll be up here. but it's essentially just taking 1 day off per week fully to rest and relax, not doing any jobs, chores, or anything like that. Thirdly, simplicity, and this is also known as minimalism, which I know loads of people are interested in, but the generic idea is that the more clutter, physical clutter you have, generally the more mental clutter you have as well. So if you start to get rid of things that you don't really need, you actually free up a lot of headspace as well. And I've certainly found this as I've sort of got rid of things that I don't need. And it's important to distinguish, it's not talking about tidying away things, it's about actually getting rid of things you do not need. And finally, the fourth point is slowing. Now this is a weird one, but it's effectively just forcing yourself to do things slower, just to show yourself that you do not need to rush through the day and hurry through the day to be more productive. One fun idea that John Mark actually suggests in the book, which doesn't sound very fun, is actively choosing the longest checkout line when you're at the supermarket, just to sort of force yourself to be a bit slower. He also suggests maybe walking places slower. I know that I'm rubbish at walking slowly. I like to power walk past everyone. But let me bring this back to where I started and just stop for a second. Take a pause, maybe not just in this moment now, but actually take a pause from your work. Maybe take some time off or just have a weekend away. Take a breath, but not just physically right now. Let your life have room to breathe a little bit. Maybe when you go on this weekend or week away, leave your phone behind, or at least leave as many responsibilities as you can behind. Now observe. This is where I'd suggest maybe you try silence and solitude. Just carve out an hour or two on one of these days, maybe grab a journal, maybe grab a cup of coffee, and just sit and observe your life a bit from a distance. Think about what things are going well in your work. Why did you first get into work in this area in the first place? What could you possibly do to get re-inspired about the work area that you're in? And also, what responsibilities might you need to cut off in order to give yourself a more sustainable and achievable work life? And finally, proceed. Get back to your life, get back to working, but maybe not exactly the way it used to be. Maybe actually put into practice some of these thoughts that you've had on your time off. I would just encourage you, do try and start making some of these positive changes. Do maybe go and get The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, maybe download it on an audiobook. I really don't think you'll regret it. I will put a link in the description if you want to get it, but you don't have to get it from there. I fully recognise that one video like this will not cure anyone's burnout or solve their work issues. But what I hope it has done is maybe it inspires you or just allowed you to take a step back and think about how you can maybe start to make a change for the better. If you've enjoyed this, then thank you so much. I would really appreciate it if you subscribed if you're not already. I've just eclipsed 1,000 subscribers, which is absolutely mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful to all of you who have joined me recently. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I've certainly enjoyed writing it and producing it, and I really do hope to make more of these types of videos around this area of work and rest, and hopefully in the area of slightly more creative videos as well, not just, informational. So no, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.